terms of shared responsibility agreements. How ridiculous. How ridiculous. And I'm curious, how many individuals in this room today will support the idea that, you know, you allow basic human needs, basic human rights for Aboriginal people on the basis that we conform to mainstream Australia? Or that we see culture in terms of commodity? For myself personally, I'm a Southern Black chick. We have not had, in my lifetime, not had the opportunity to learn our traditional ways and our traditional dances. In my lifetime, it's something that I want to revive. It's something I want to pass on to my children so that my grandchildren have. But I can't do that when I'm being socially, industrially engineered by the government. I can't do that while they're threatening to cut off my life support because, you know, I won't go and be a part of the industry. And quite frankly, I think in terms of industry, Australia, the world has got it wrong. I mean, you really need to take a look at what's happening around the world today in terms of environment. How is people who can travel to the moon can just be so ignorant in terms of, you know, what it is we need on a daily basis, in terms of what it is that feeds us and cares for us and nurtures us. I think that the stronger the Aboriginal people become in their culture and the more freedom they have to express that, then it's probably something that the wider population can learn from. In terms of Redfern and Waterloo, it's home for me. I live in Marrickville, but it is my home, and I cannot survive in Sydney without an Aboriginal conglomerate, without an Aboriginal community, because our mob, we're taught our patterns, our lifestyle, our traditions, our culture is based off thinking in terms of mob, thinking in terms of community, as opposed to just thinking for yourself. And it's very difficult to do that within white society, because white society promotes individualism. And, you know, I think Redfern really does have a great representation of different Aboriginal people from all over the country. All different mob come there for all different reasons. It's highly promoted as having a high violence and a really high crime rate. But I don't think it's even in the top 5 of the highest crime rates of Sydney. So it's just, once again, you know, this perpetuation by propaganda, promoting these ideals that really demonise blackfellas living in the centre of the city. And it's, if you ask me, my personal opinion is it's all about development. It's all about corporate greed. They want the land, and it's worth, you know, it's worth millions. Let's be honest. And if they can get it now, they can probably get it at a cheaper rate because Redfern's been so much demonised for its for its Aboriginal population. Oh, I ran into our uncle there this morning, having coffee in Redfern Street, and I just asked him, you know, what does he think about Redfern Waterloo? And he's an old charger, you know, he sits around, he's one of the drinkers, one of the kindest men I've ever met in my life too, a man of genuine humanity. And he asked me to bring up a couple of issues. Police harassment. Police harassment in Redfern is continual, it is constant. I mean, recently, the latest stories are stories of young male police strip searching young Aboriginal teenagers on the streets. And how can people, you know, Redfern, it may have a strong Aboriginal centre, but people who go to university cross through there every day, on a daily basis, you know, they're back and forwards to university, back and forwards to work. How can this occur? How can people be so blind to that and just turn their back on it? Why is it okay? He also asked me to speak a little bit about the riots. And all I really can do in terms of the riots is give my own personal opinion. And that is the opinion that, you know, has been promoted in the media, and that is it is black resistance. It is the only way that a people can express themselves purely without being watered down and express how much this community means to them and how much the people in the community mean to them. Yeah, and I guess I'll just open it up for questions now. Short and sweet.
Thank you. I think we're just going back to the last point there about the rights, and it's always been an interest to me that the rights in Redfern mean that we have a problem and therefore we have to clear it out. Macquarie Fields, we apparently don't have a problem. We don't need to redevelop Macquarie Fields. The land is not quite as valuable. So it's, I think you're quite right about the value of the land. The other thing that I think comes through with that, of course, with the things that Claire was saying this morning, and also that Wiraduri was saying this morning, is that personal pride and self-determination are fundamental for integration in its truest sense. You can't be a friend to others or to be part of something if you don't have pride in yourself. And if you don't have self-determination, I think that people all over the world and every nationality that is represented in this country has fought for some form of self-determination at some time. And for this discussion to be happening in 2007, sitting here is I think, a real tragedy. Now, any questions for Aletha before we break for more in-depth? Sure.
I have a question similar to the one you asked me. I know there's been of the broader community in trying to preserve Redfern as it is, or the new project that has Aboriginal support. What's the latest state of play with that? Are there still protests? I know there've been.
There haven't been any protests as of late. I suppose the housing company is trying to really take charge of the situation by, holding community festivals and markets and things like that in Redfern to engage the broader community to come in. And recently I was involved in something called Gathering Ground, which was basically 3 nights of tours of the block. And I was one of their tour guides. And we were taking people through the block, telling them about the history of the block and what it means to Aboriginal people. And it drew, over that 3 nights, something like 1,000 people and raised something like $3,500 for the local gym, for a children's space for the local gym. So, slowly but surely, I think that the broader community are coming to support blackfellas in Redfern. But come support us, don't come dictate to us, basically.
Yeah, I just know that there's been a problem with a number of community services looking for space. I mean, we keep talking about adaptive reuse, or the government keeps talking about adaptive reuse of buildings, but when asked if there's space for community services, we're told that there's no space. And just wondering about what the reaction to that kind of thing is I know that the reaction is in the immediate community, but whether that's sort of acknowledged or understood in the wider sense.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, when you have people talking about, non-Aboriginal people talking about Redfern, Waterloo, they're proud of their Aboriginals, I suppose. They're generally educated about past policies. But I don't necessarily think they see the significance of having organisations there available for the community. And right now, a lot of organisations are being forced into what they call partnerships, shared responsibility agreements, and funding is being cut. Yeah, funding's being cut for Aboriginal servicing. And what that's going to mean is that, if the blackfellas decide to stay there, and decide to fight for their land, all the organisations are being under-resourced, or always have been, but have been, having even more money cut from them. So eventually they'll close down, and blackfellas will have to, I suppose, travel out of Redfern for servicing. And so, it's all a part of the evil plan, if you ask me.